Alright, so this pack has a couple of cards in it that are interesting. Guardian Priest. We have this rare, which is pretty neat. I don't think it's as good as a Priest. Priest is kind of removal. This guy's pretty neat, like a blue-red spells deck. This card I think is underrated. It's not our first pick, but it's a card I like having in my deck. This guy, nice sizable body. This guy's pretty good, especially in green-black, where you can get Delirium. This guy's good. Use him with enchantment removal, things like that. This guy's good at emerging. The other cards are pretty passable. Of course, I'm Craig Wesco, so I'm probably going to just jam this guy. Girl. Oath of Liliana. It's a nice one. Unlikely to get planeswalkers, though, so it's probably just a sacrifice a creature, which is not super interesting. I like this card a lot. Put any sort of pump on it or equipment, it just gets real good. This one, if you can get Delirium, it's real powerful. Otherwise, it's good. Emerge outlet, solid removal, solid madness outlet, good Delirium card, good Delirium enabler. This one probably has the most upside if we can get some Graph Rats. And this one's the harder one of the two to get because it's more powerful on its own. So we could jump on that. We could stay on color with one of these guys. I think I want to go with this guy. I think there's a lot of upside here. And now that we have this guy, we can prioritize Graph Rats. Boy, I like this card a lot. Borrowed Grace is a really good trick that I like to get one of, but it usually comes a little later than this. Thermo Alchemist is really powerful in a blue-red spells archetype. We could abandon ship and just jam this guy and take a whole bunch of red and blue cards. But usually that strategy works. I mean, this is the time to get it. Like a third pick Alchemist is where you want it. Unfortunately, it works basically a lot better if you just take like a red removal spell and then you get like, you know, a drag under or whatever, and then you take this guy. Whereas we have sort of a couple of reasonable black and white cards, and this card I think is pretty powerful in this archetype. Just like the Alchemist is really powerful in red. Whew, this is another good one. But so is this. So is Prey Upon. So there's a lot of good cards in this pack. Lunarch Mantle works well with Lone Rider. Hopefully we can table that. Probably not. So there'll be 4 cards left in the pack. It'll be like Plains, Cathar's Shield, Cultist Staff. Could be Lunarch Mantle, but it's unlikely we're going to table it. This guy's good, though. We have 3 humans so far, and this one finds more humans, and it just really rewards you for having humans. It's a really powerful card on its own. So I think we're going to take that instead of trying to go for Prey Upon, since we don't have any green cards yet. I'd rather stay open. So there's another Borrowed Grace. I still think it's too early to take it. I like this card a lot. And this card's, you know, it's a reasonable Grizzly Bear type card with some upside. The 2-drop is pretty solid, but I really like where we're at with this lifelink human, Faithbearer Paladin, because we have 4 humans so far, and the Outrider can find the Paladin. So the Paladin makes the Outrider better. We want to play pump spells in our deck for the Lone Rider, and the pump spells are going to work with this guy too. So it just has a lot of synergy with the cards we've taken so far. Ooh, bam, that's a good one for our deck. Stitcher's Graph. So Stitcher's Graph will pump the lifelinker it will pump this lifelinker and transform it, and it just, this card is just amazing in our deck, and there's nothing else we really want. Okay, so there's two cards in here that we're happy to have in our deck, and one card that's the actual best card in the pack. If we took that Thermo Alchemist, then this would just be a huge gift, but we didn't. We only have one black card, though, so we are kind of mono-red. We could still take this. But again, this guy is a human, so has the synergies with the Outrider. And it also will find us our Stitcher's Graph, get it back if the opponent kills it. And we're probably going to want to play some auras, like Lunarch Mantle type cards for the Rider and the Paladin. So this will get that back. Spectral Reserves is going to be really good if we get the Borrowed Grace. There's the Lunarch Mantle. There's also a Slayer's Cleaver. Power level on this is kind of low, though Lunarch Mantle is definitely good enough to play. Sigarda's Aid is one of those really strange cards where, like, this could be a deck where we make it work, where we just take all of the equipment and auras and just jam it. But I think it's more important to get this card because this card is going to be good in our deck no matter what. Whereas this card, we have to get a lot to make it good. And I think I'd rather just take this. So no, this card, really strong, very solid card. If we're an aggressive white deck, which is what we're looking like we are at this point, it's going to be a really good kind of curve topping type card. Obviously doesn't work great with the Faithbearer Paladin, but it'll probably make our deck, and we're going to be happy to have it. Bam, tabled it. So this is a question of like which of these is most likely to make it into our deck, and the honest answer is none of them. Return target creature from your graveyard to your hand if it's a zombie draw card. So it's just a 2-mana Raised Head. Yeah, gain some life. Yep, we did table the Lunarch Mantle. We also tabled the Cultist Staff, which is an underrated card. Most players kind of dismiss it as unplayable. I think it is playable, and this would be a deck it is playable in. But I like the Lunarch Mantle better, and choose table to Borrowed Grace. I guess everybody knows I'm at the table. So they're just staying out of white. We only got one black card so far. Ooh, hello. Oh, we have a lot of good picks here. So the Graft Rats stands out to me the most because it'll work with Scavengers, but we could just be mono white at this point. If we are white-black, we also have Campaign of Vengeance, which would be real solid in our deck. The generically best card is Choking Restraints, or Alchemist's Greeting. Blessed Alliance is reasonable, but it's not on the same power level as Choking Restraints in a deck like this. I think the pick is between Choking Restraints and Graft Rats. So Graft Rats allows us to really turn this guy on and make this a real formidable threat. 5/6 Menace, just the bonus, pretty huge. We do have the Ironclad Slayer, which is real good with Choking Restraints, though. So I think that since we only really saw one black card, there's a good chance we're getting out of black. And I'd rather just take this card for our deck, which is going to be powerful in our deck no matter what. Okay, so now this pack, it's between 3 cards, and it's the top left 3. So this card is a powerful on-color card. Comes into play, sacrifice, say, a land, and get this guy back. Get a 3/2. If we can get Delirium, he starts doing all kinds of real powerful stuff. But I think this is the point where we go with this card. So he puts humans onto the battlefield. He's a human we can find with the Outrider. We're basically just giving up one pick so far. I think it's more powerful than Incendiary Flow, although Flow is also really good. I think this is the time where we just gamble and go with the Hanwar Garrison and move into Boros. Assuming that we see more Boros cards. So here, this card is pretty reasonable since all of our creatures are humans. I'd like to see this later. I don't like to second pick this, but I definitely would be happy with one in my deck. This card is a sweet 2-drop. We don't have a lot of 2-drops. We have a couple of Lunarch Mantles. We don't need a third Faithbearer Paladin. We're not going to take a Cultist Staff this high. I think we just jam this guy. Alright, so this pack, we have a solid 2-drop. We have this guy, which we don't really have a lot of good stuff with it. We have the Stitcher's Graph, so we could equip it, attack for 4, and then equip the Stitcher's Graph to something else. So then the Sentry dies, and we get the 3/2 that way. So that's a sweet combo that we could have. The question is it better than Grizzly Bear with Upside? Thinking if we're an aggressive Boros deck, maybe not. It's just having a 1/2 doesn't seem super strong. I think I want to go with the Guardian of Pilgrims. Alright, so here we could go Long Road Home. That card is okay. It's nothing super special. We don't have really any abilities to use it with other than the Ironclad Slayer. But Blood Mist, I think, could be really strong. Beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control gains double strike. So I think we're going to be a pretty aggressive Boros deck. And this card can really work in that strategy. Just giving whatever creature we want double strike. So it makes kind of our weakest creature good. And that's something that we're really in the market for having, I think. Now, Fiendbinder, this one's a strong one. It'll press damage. It'll like tap a blocker. It's a reasonably costed 3-power creature for 4 mana. It's a human, so we can find it with the Outrider. And the only other competing options, there's the Sanitarium, which is maybe reasonable in our deck. Keep the pressure on. 2/1 Menace, that's reasonable. But I think we're going to be base white. And I don't want Fennel to punch me, so I'm not going to take the Field Creeper. Just take this guy. Alright, so we have another Tapper or another Slayer, both of which are strong cards. Let's separate. We have, let's see, these are all our pump spells. These are all our creatures. We have 2-drop, 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 3/3, 4/4, 4, 5/5. So our creature curve's looking pretty good. In general, I like to take the creature that has more chances of being a removal spell and to be lower in our curve. So I think the Priest is probably the pick here. I think Slayer is pretty reasonable. Oh, we got another Slayer. Is that better than Thirsting Axe? +4. At the beginning of your end step, if equipped creature didn't deal combat damage to a creature this turn, sack it. Yeah, I think I want the Slayer. We have enough upside with like the Lunarch Mantles and the Blood Mist and the Stitcher's Graph if they kill it. So we have another chance at an Axe. We have the Spectral Reserves. I think since we have Borrowed Grace, I'd rather go with the Reserves. And they are flying too, which could work really well with the Stitcher's Graph to get in some extra damage. So I think I'm happy to have Spectral Reserves in my deck. So the Extricator of Sin tabled. Sacrifice another permanent. Yeah, we're going to play this card. Pretty sure that's better than Otherworldly Outburst. Outburst is a solid trick, but I think we're going to have enough spells. We're just going to take this card. And bam, we tabled it. It's the card we wanted. They're passing the cute, harmless kitty with the snake tail, or whatever that is. We definitely want this card, though. Looks like all our creatures are basically human. And then this doesn't matter. Long Road Home, probably not going to play it. Just take this guy. So our deck's looking pretty solid. We have basically 2 red cards. And this one's a really powerful one. The other one is also reasonable. We're mostly mono white, though. Surprise, surprise. If we do play the Repel, then this Guardians is basically the only creature that doesn't get affected by it. I guess there's this guy and these guys. Everything else looks like a human. Alright, so dual shot got much better with Eldritch Moon. I don't know if it's a first pick, though. Thraben Inspector is a card we're happy to have in our deck. It's a human, it's a 1-drop, it does cool stuff. Inspired Captain is another card we're pretty happy to have in our deck. But none of these are really first picks. This card is a first pick. It's a really powerful kind of game-ending type card, and we can make use of the tokens with Borrowed Grace, Stitcher's Graph. So I feel like I want to take the most powerful card, which is the Devil's Playground. Okay, so this pack, definitely weaker than the last one. Much fewer options. This one works the best in our deck, I think. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control is indestructible. You can pay 2 mana, deal 1 damage to target blocking creature. So it's basically going to make life very difficult for the opponent to try to block our creatures if we take this. We already have a reasonable amount of cards that kind of do that, though. The question is, are we going to play like a Sanguinary Mage or a Moorland Drifter? And I think the likelihood of us playing those is pretty low. So I think Nahiri's Machinations, even though it might not make it into our deck, I think that's probably the pick here. So here we can take a dual land. We could take this guy, which we have 1 equipment so far. This card, if we can get Delirium. Or we could take the True Faith Sensor, which I'm a pretty big fan of, especially in a human deck. So we have a ton of humans. So if it's a human, it gets +2/+1 in Vigilance, which is a pretty big deal. Excellent with the Faithbearer Paladin. I saw BBD do that at Worlds. It's pretty strong. I think the upside of this card is enough that we're going to take it over the dual land. So we're just going to go with this one. So now we have 2 powerful equipment spells in our deck. We have this card, which is kind of like an equipment. It's like 4 mana equipment, 0 to equip. Target creature gains double strike. Only works when attacking. Wow. Okay, so here we have some options. We can take an early curve creature, probably the Thraben Inspector, or we can take a finisher, which we don't really need a finisher. Like our creatures, we're trying to make them big and just like stomp over instead of unblockable. We could take this Duelist, which is pretty strong. You know, their biggest creature can't block, and add another body to the board, haste. But I think Odric is the slam dunk here. Just gives all our creatures all the abilities, and he's a human, so I can find him. I think at this point, maybe this Scarecrow doesn't make the cut, which is Not something that usually happens, but I think that's about where we're at. So here there's basically two cards that I want for my deck. There's Tenacity and Angelic Purge. Tenacity is a nice trick. Plus $1 creatures and lifelink on top them. So it's good on offense, good on defense, great at winning races. We are able to make tokens with like the Spectral Reserves and the Devil's Playground, so you can make good use of it. But I really like this sort of unconditional removal spell. It's really hard for me to pass this card up, so I'm going to take the Angelic Purge. So now we have like some really powerful pump spells, a couple of sort of unconditional removal spells. Then we have these two kind of combat tricks that we're not sure what capacity those are going to be in our deck or not. We definitely have a pretty high power level of cards. And we have a nice little curve going on. Alright, so we have Expose Evil, which I don't think we need another trick. We're good on those. We just want to kind of maybe upgrade some creatures. And we have two good options for that. We have Town Gossipmonger and Bygone Bishop. So Bygone Bishop, oh, okay, it took too much time, but I took the one I wanted anyway. So Bygone Bishop, yeah. Yeah, so the Gossipmonger is a strong one-drop, but the Bygone Bishop's just going to be so much card advantage. So now here, we could take Explosive Apparatus as another removal spell. I don't think we need that. I think we want Inspired Captain. It's a pretty powerful way to just pump all our guys. It's a human. So the question is, I don't know how much red we're actually going to be. So we might just not play this card and just be mostly mono white. In which case, we're definitely not interested in this guy. I think this card's fine. We have like 2 equipment spells. It's a pump spell that you can play and play a threat. I like Expose Evil a lot though too. Another one of these guys. Probably not making it into the deck, but I guess the best card against us might be this card. Blue-red spells deck. Well, this dual land could help us. So do we want this guy? I think the answer is no. It's a hesitant no. I think we want the dual land to try to splash this guy. This card could make it into the deck. So I suspect that we don't want to play this card either. Scarecrow, I don't know. Keeping that in the sideboard just seems wrong. Maybe we'll reconsider that. But I think our red splash is just going to be Handwear Garrison. I don't think that we want to try to play these cards. Right, so group creatures separately. Last chance, any of these guys. Maybe we'll give that a second thought. Okay, so our 2 drops. Lone Rider is excellent. Tappers are excellent. What's our clock? How much time do we have? Do we have infinite time? I don't know, this is a draft league. I don't see a clock anywhere. Alright, so we have a lot of creatures, 19 at the moment. We'll start moving the ones over here that I'm least likely to play. We could just basically play all humans. Human, 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 spirit cleric, but we're definitely playing that. Human, 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 spirit cleric. You don't have to necessarily play that. So Spectral Reserves works good with Borrowed Grace. I think that's probably one of our weaker cards. Maybe we just don't need the reserves. I guess with Odric it makes all our guys fly, which is really sweet. It does work great with Borrowed Grace. I'm just really not a huge fan of this card. So we definitely want the 2 removal spells. We definitely want the 2 equipment spells. I'm pretty sure we want the Borrowed Grace. So that's 5 cards that I'm almost certain that we want. So then the question is like, which of these 5 do we want? We don't want too many spells. So if we cut these, that leaves us with 13 lands. I think we want 17 lands in this deck. So we need to cut 4 more cards. I think we want about 16 creatures, where the Spectral Reserves counts as a creature if we play that. So we need to cut 15, 16, 17, 18. So we need to cut like 2 creatures and 2 spells, something like that. I think our plan is just make our guys bigger and have abilities, so maybe this would be a sideboard card. And I really like this. Maybe we will... Probably cut one of these. And maybe we cut a Lunarch Mantle. It is another way to give our guys flying, though, with Odric. And it's really good with Slayer. I feel like we definitely have to cut a spell, though. I think it's a spell and a creature. Maybe we diversify our tricks. That's something that one of the best limited players of all time, teammate Rich Hohen, keeps hammering into my head. He says, like every time I ask him, what do I cut? He's like, oh, cut that spell that you have a 2 of. Pretty much no matter what it is, because he's like, you know, diversify your tricks. Which makes sense. Keep the opponent guessing what you have. So we have to cut like 1 more card. I think it'll be a creature. I can cut Guardian of Pilgrims. It could be Spectral Reserves. I guess I would err toward one of the 4 drops. So maybe we just cut the reserves. I think it's good in our deck, but I think we want to have a 2-drop because the 2-drop just gets better with all our equipment and stuff like that. So I think this is the way we want to build it. Now the question is, how many lands do we want of each? I think I want... I think I want like 13 and 3. So then that's 4 red sources to cast the Handwear, and it's still 14 white. We don't really have a lot of double white. In fact, we have no double white. The only thing we need double white for is to activate the choking restraints. So I think we're plenty safe with this land configuration. So, alright, here's our deck. Save deck. And let's play some matches.